I'm Sarah.
And I'm Brandon.
And this is Fish or Price Ranch.
There you go. Keep going.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Sarah with Fish or Price Ranch. First off, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. So it's that time of year again, and we are going to be moving goats into breeding pens after we do our goat roundup. So we're getting everything prepared. We're going to head out and do a goat roundup. But first I want to go over a few things because there are a couple of changes this year. Alright, so first off, this is going to be our breeding schedule. We have them always split in two. I do need to move Pippa up here. But basically this is going to be our first round of breeding, and then this will be our second round of breeding. So we're currently in July, which is what we normally do. We are going to be breeding all these goats plus Pippa. And they will be kidding in December, and then we're going to wait about 6 weeks, and then we're going to do the other half. And then these guys will kid in February. So we were going to switch it up this year and do a little bit later in the year, but being now that we live where it's more wet and you have the parasites in the early spring, we decided after talking with a lot of breeders, we're going to go ahead and keep our breeding schedule as normal. So this is kind of what we have going. We're using 5 of our boys this year, and then we're also going to be using one of our boys, Whiskey's Jericho, that is owned now by Josh and Crystal with Rock and JC's Goat Farm, and they're going to be using Cosmos over there. But anyway, so we're going to be using 6 bucks this year, and that's kind of the idea right there of who's going with who. Alright, and then next we did a hard cold again this year, and we just kind of wanted to cut down on numbers for now. So this is the amount of goats we have on the entire farm. It's only 48 goats, so we just have them all written down. All my marks are boys, the rest are girls, and then I have their ages written down here, and then we're also going to be doing blood on all the adults. Anybody that's at least 9 months or older gets blood drawn, so we can do our disease testing that we do every year. So one of the things that is going to change this year is we used to give copper bolus, but because we're on the mineral buffet, they no longer need that. So that takes away one step out of doing this, which is awesome. And then we already kind of did a few hoof trims that really needed it when we first moved here, so I don't know how much hoof trimming we'll actually be doing. So we're just going to kind of go, you know, what they look like basically, and then just decide from there if they're going to get trimmed, because we only do this once a year. So my scales, well, a FAMACHA scale is what it's already at, 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. My hoof scales is basically how many times a year they need a hoof trim. Typically I want to see obviously a 0 or a 1. 2 is okay. 3 is borderline for me. If I have to do a 4 or more, they're immediately cold. I won't tolerate having that bad of genetics on the hooves. But 3 is borderline. It depends on how good that goat really is, if we will cull that one as well. And then of course we always get their weight. I like to keep track of height because I really like my tall goats, and it helps me decide with breeding who goes where. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Most of our goats are still pretty young. We have some 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds. We only have a couple that are older, which is 7.5 years old and 8 years old. All the rest are younger than that. But the other thing about this year is this is all in alphabetical order, and we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goats that are not born here. All the rest have been born on our property. So that was another thing that we've been working toward. We want to get to only homegrown stock, so we only have 7 left that we're going to be using. We are going to probably use Sanja Mountain 1912 this year again, and then we'll probably go ahead and rehome him, because we're going to keep a son or 2 out of him, and then some daughters, of course. Pippa and Pinky and Finn have proven themselves so well that they will probably live out their days here. Pippa and Pinky are older ones, so they only have maybe 3 or 4 years with us left anyway. So we're going to get as many kids out of them as we possibly can. And then Tinkerbell, Sequoia, and Jasmine. Tinkerbell, this will be her first year giving us kids. These two did really well for us last year. We kept a daughter from each. So we'll probably do that 1 or 2 more times, and then we'll probably move them off as well. We'll see how Tinkerbell does for us. So that's kind of where we're sitting as far as what's going on with the farm and how the goats are doing. So we're going to head outside and get started. Alright, so here is the rabbit pen. Ignore the mess, that's another video. We're in the middle of revamping everything. But look at our trees, they're getting so big. Happy, happy trees with all the manure and fresh rain. But here are some of our breeding does, so that we have FPR Bazooka's Mahogany, FPR Hawthorne's Forget-Me-Not, FPR Whiskey's Maya. So those 3 girls are homegrown, and we have SJH Sanja Mountain 1912. We call him Oki. He is the only buck we're using this year that is not a homegrown buck. So that's who's breeding those 3 does. And we're utilizing the chicken pen, and we have FPR Galaxy's Franklin, FPR Bazooka's Velvet, and FPR Paladin's Ravenna. So those 3 are homegrowns that are breeding. Alright, and then we've started our chute, and that's what we're using for these ones. We have FPR Whiskey's Trillium, breeding with FPR Hawthorne's Dragon, and FPR Whiskey's Sapphire. So Dragon is getting 2 girls this time. So that's who's breeding in this pen. In this pen we have ZVA Rio's Sequoia, which is Brandon's goat. And then we have FPR Bear's Bazooka, along with FPR Wrecker's Myrtle. And the blue one is LTK Whiskey's Tinkerbell. So that's who's breeding in this pen. We have the rest of the herd with all the babies from last year and earlier this year. And the does that are not breeding yet, they're all out on the big field here. So hopefully doing this, separating a little bit, it'll help all the grass grow back by the time we move everybody back to where they're supposed to be. Alright, we're taking a slight gamble in here. This is our buck pen, and we have FPR Bazooka's Cosmos in here, and we have ZVA Warlock's Jasmine, we have MTF Stone's Pippa, we have FPR Choose Azalea, FPR Paladin's Andromeda, FPR Wrecker's Daphne, and we also have the young bucks that weaned earlier this year. So they are between 3.5 to 5 months old, and so basically we're just hoping that they will not get any ideas and let Cosmos just have all these big girls. The good thing is there's really only 2 that I think could even reach the girls, and that's Cayenne, who just came around the corner, and Zeke. He's the big blue one laying down right next to him. So anyway, these are the girls that Cosmos is getting right now. Hi, girls. Alright, and we're over here at Rockin' JC's goat farm using one of their bucks, which is one of our homegrowns. This is FPR Whiskey's Jericho. We have FPR Bear's Savannah, PABH Cosmos's Feldman, which is out of our FPR Bazooka's Cosmos. And then we have FPR Bazooka's Jewel. Alright, you guys, so that's kind of what's going on. Sorry I didn't get any footage of the roundup. We were just all hands on deck, and it's just really difficult because we weren't fully set up here like we were at the last place. So anyway, now we are just waiting for the goats to breed, and we'll keep you guys updated on that. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.